order at 6:31 on April 12th. I have some adjustments to the agenda. I would like to move 6C up to 3B. Board member issues will be 3B before communication and public comments. Does anyone else have any adjustments to the agenda? Chris or Chris? David Clark? I can't hear you.
Maybe I should turn on my microphone, Molly.
That'd
Okay,
be
back
good.
on March 30th, I had made a request for 2 items for tonight. One was a HVAC report. That's an item that's been hanging since school reopened this past fall. And the other was a financial report written on the Haber grant. I did have some subsequent email from Chris Hosden on the 8th indicating that it would be ready. I realize you're going to have a pretty busy meeting tonight. So if these things are not on tonight, then I certainly hope that it will make it on the next meeting. Do we know if those are on, Molly?
Chris Hodgson,
Right.
for some reason, we don't have a principal report on
Right.
here, and I'm not sure why.
So I'll speak to that then, David. I did check with Mr. Pratt, and as you had mentioned, he felt like that the meeting was going to be long enough that we wouldn't be able to get to that, but I do have the reports. I can make those happen at the very next meeting.
I can accept that, Molly.
Okay, thank you. Priscilla?
I think we need an update on negotiations.
Okay, I'm not sure because I'm not on the negotiating committee, but I thought that might be happening under administration and teacher contracts and executive session.
That's
Jack
correct.
Breyer is shaking his head.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
anyone else? I can't see everybody, so holler at me if I'm missing somebody. Okay, so I would like to move on to review and approve board minutes for March 8th. Can someone give me a motion to accept the minutes on March 8th?
I will give you that motion, Molly.
Thank you,
Breyer.
Jack.
Molly?
Yes, Priscilla.
No, it's
Or-
Brenda.
I'm sorry. Hi, Brenda.
I don't know how, but I'm not listed on members present and I was there. So is that after you do the motions?
Yes, we will fix that.
Thanks.
Brenda Farkas was present. Anyone else have any adjustments? Priscilla?
Also, could you add last names for you and Margot and me?
Certainly. Last names Molly, Margot, and Priscilla. Okay, anyone else?
Molly, this is Deb Wright. My only
Okay.
would be, there are a lot of typos in the document, and I don't know, as school board minutes, they should actually be corrected.
Okay, would we like to not approve them until next meeting and get them corrected?
Madam
Jack?
Chair, I would support that, frankly.
Okay.
I as
All those in favor of not approving the minutes this evening for the March 8th meeting? Bear with me, I'm trying to make sure I got everybody. I'm gonna say Priscilla,
Yes.
Jason, Terry,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes,
Brenda,
Yes.
Deb,
yes.
Chris, there's a lot of people here. Who else have I got for board members?
David votes
David.
yes.
David Clark.
David. All right, David, yes. Is that all I've got for board members?
I believe that, yeah, I believe so, Molly, yes.
Okay. Okay, so the motion passes to not approve the minutes for March 8th. And we will get all of the grammatical errors and names added on there, and we'll come back next meeting. Our next item of agenda is, we have it on here as board member issue. What I would like to do is invite Jason Terry to speak to us.
Thanks, Molly.
Excuse me, just a second, Jason. Can everybody mute, please? There's a lot of back noise. Thank you. Sorry, Jason.
Thanks, Molly. So I would like to apologize to the staff who were working on March 23rd, 2021 for my behavior and the dialogue that ensued between myself and the principal. Looking back at my dialogue was not thoughtful or kind, and my passion got the best of me. I own my actions, and I have since this happened. I look forward to using the information I learned moving forward to better help support the school. Our family has supported CDC guidance related to COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now, if a board member doesn't have any questions for Jason, I would like to move on to community and public comments. I see no hand. Jack, do I see your hand up?
Yes, Madam Chair. When we do these things, I think it's important that everybody be identified properly. I'm not at all fond of things like public being or PB being a note here, and I would just ask the people that have those to identify
Have your hand up.
because I think that part of the process always has to be that the record shows who speaks and who is a witness at these meetings. And this is not just for this meeting, this is a general rule, because we've asked people, there is this weakness in this particular platform that allows sort of anonymous spamming of meetings, and it's always better to have people identify who they are, because candidly, if they don't, then it's not really a public meeting, it's something else.
Okay.
Molly, I have one thing.
Yes, Deb.
Okay, this is public comment. I have some concerns and have for more than the last year, concerns with employees of the school district utilizing this space for public comment or any other form of communication when they have other mechanisms built in their contracts to communicate with administration and also the board when they have issues. I am concerned that the avenues are being subverted by utilizing this format when technically this is a meeting of in the public, but not of the public. And that is a big, major concern for me when the time is utilized, not for parents and citizens and taxpayers to speak, but for employees to provide that personal view when they should be actually speaking to administration when they have concerns. And of course, I am referencing the item we just completed on the agenda. Thank you.
So my understanding of community comments, public comments, communications is that anyone can speak. We don't have to, we do not as a board respond back to them, but they're a teacher, they're a parent, they're a grandmother, they're a father. Chris Pratt helped me out on this one. I didn't know that they could not speak.
I wasn't aware that we could limit anyone who speak. I think if they're part of the community, I mean, I think a lot of times a lot of people in the small communities have dual roles. I think they should address the board if they are making a public comment and what capacity they're addressing the board at. So that makes it very clear where they're coming from, because I can see where Deb's coming from. It can be construed as employees making, addressing the board when, going through the administration is the procedural way of doing it. So I would say anyone who is community member, employee, parent, if you're playing multiple roles, it'd be nice to address the board in regards to who you are addressing. Yes, as an employee, parent, community member, just so everyone's aware of that. That's the best I can give you for now. We do have a few questions in the chat. Or hands raised, I should say.
All right. I can't see him, so
Katie, and it just says Katie guest. So Katie would have to identify herself.
Hi, Molly. It's Katie Dearborn.
Hi.
So I actually wanted to ask the board some follow-up from the last meeting in regards to the resignation from the varsity basketball coach.
okay, can we hold just one moment?
Yeah,
Do we have any questions about what Jason, any question on Jason's comments before we move to communications and public comments? Are we good with all that? I just want to make sure I'm not leaving somebody out here that thought they wanted to speak to Jason.
Molly,
Yes.
this is Tammy Westney.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to speak on behalf of Jason and let all of you know that he did not mean any harm to anybody or any threat to anybody. He was just trying to protect his children, as I'm sure every single one of us has done before.
Thank you.
Jason Benson has his hand up, and then Ian.
Okay, Jason Benson.
Yes, thank you, Molly. Yeah, I just want to speak in regards to the situation that happened at the high school. It's unfortunate with all parties concerned that it escalated to the point that it did. The one thing that does concern me is some people have labeled it as bullying, and it's not. I was a victim of bullying throughout high school, and that's not just a one-time occurrence. It's day in, day out, week after week, month after month, and in my case, year after year. I had one that would not leave me alone. I was easy prey for him, and that's what it was. And that is bullying. And I just really don't like the fact that this could detract from when bullying really does happen, that people might confuse things and say, well, that's not really bullying. Bullying it's a horrible thing. And what happened here was just a concerned parent that may have overreacted to the situation. And unfortunately, nobody intervened at the appropriate time to de-escalate it when it needed to be. But that is all. And Jason Terry is a colleague of mine. He's very assertive. He's a very wise person that I feel he deserves a chance to be looked up to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ian?
Chris Pratt.
This is Ian Spartalotti. I'm a parent of a high school student and an incoming high school student. I am speaking tonight to ask the board to join me in demanding Jason Terry's resignation from this and all school boards associated with WNESU due to his angry outburst at the high school. I believe school board members should set the standard for behavior and how community members should be expected to communicate grievances with the school. Mr. Terry has set a dangerous precedent with his actions. Please do not be distracted by his disagreements with the school's protocols, whether the administration handled his outburst appropriately. All that matters is that he chose to use his position on this board to enter the school and yell at staff. He may dispute the report of his threatening language, but it doesn't matter if all he did was say that's bullshit, like he did at the board meeting last year when he heard football was canceled. It is still unacceptable behavior for a board member. If this board does not clearly and completely condemn this behavior, then you are condoning it. And you would be sending a message to the community that this is an acceptable method for airing grievances at school. And I believe this could open this board and the district to liability and litigation from harmed staff and students when it happens again, either by Mr. Terry or anyone else because of the precedent you had set tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, do you have anyone else?
I don't see anyone else who has it.
I'm sorry, it's Rebecca Stockwell. I cannot figure out how to raise my hand. I'm sorry. I spoke at the Rockingham board meeting. I'm not going to repeat those comments here, but I do stand by my request that Mr. Terry resign from the school board, this one and the Rockingham board. I recently was sent past school board meetings with the comments from Mr. Terry about following the rules, you know, specifically highlighted. My point in telling you this is that people want accountability. Someone took the time to go through the past board meetings and send those things. I don't know who else they went to, but to send those things to make the point of saying that Mr. Terry on several occasions said he would follow the rules and then knowingly broke them. And truthfully, that's not important to me. I don't actually care what his disagreement with the school was. I care that he came in and people felt threatened. And I care that there doesn't seem to be any consequence. I also wanted to clarify something that was misquoted in the Brattleboro Reformer, which said that I called Mr. Terry's email from the beginning of the year threatening when I said it was harassing, and I did email the reporter to make her aware of that. So since I spoke at that last meeting, I've received many thank yous from staff in support of me and in support of speaking out because they don't feel supported. They don't feel like the behavior is going to be addressed. And some of them even shared with me that they were fearful to come to school the next day. And lastly, I'd like to urge anyone that's made public comments about this to think about how their comments could feel incredibly dismissive to the staff who witnessed that and felt threatened and felt fearful. Calling the no trespass order a cheap shot really diminishes the experience that they had. And that's, they don't feel supported. They need to feel supported by their board, by their administration, and they just want accountability. That's what they're looking for. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I had the name right. Rebecca Stockwell?
Correct.
Thank you.
Andrea Carlson has her hand up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Carlson. I'm a resident of Westminster. I have a child who's a senior at Bellows Falls Union High School and a child who will be in 9th grade next year. I've worked at Bfuhs for 20 years as a school social worker and currently as a school counselor. I would like to speak briefly about the incident that happened on March 23rd at the end of the school day. Although I did not witness the incident, I did witness Jason Terry getting into a verbal and almost physical fight at a basketball game last year in front of everyone in the gym. And I also witnessed him cursing when upset during a school board meeting this past fall. All of this, along with the deep respect that I have for my coworkers, gives me reason to believe the story told to me by those who were victims and witnesses of his verbal tirade during which he threatened their jobs and lives. There's absolutely no excuse.
Oh my God.
To come on our, we can hear you, Gaetano, on our school grounds and threaten people, period. Behavior such as this cannot be tolerated in schools, as it is our goal to offer a safe learning environment for everyone. Students witnessed Jason Terry threatening the principal and 2 women who were simply doing their jobs. Witnessing an event such as this can cause physical and emotional upheaval in children, especially ones who have been traumatized before. And this impacts their learning and overall well-being. We do not want our students to fear coming to school nor be on edge when they are in school. We want the adults who enter our school to model the same level of respect that we expect from the staff and students. As an adult, having one's job and life threatened has physical and emotional effects that can impact one's work performance as well. Staff at Bfuhs are left wondering, is this going to happen again? Am I safe at work? What if the abuser is at a sporting event? Will they approach me? All of this creates a level of stress that is unhealthy, and it can be avoided by prohibiting the presence of the abuser while people heal. I support the no trespass order on Jason Terry, as I firmly believe we must provide a safe, violence-free school for our children and for those that work there. I'm hopeful by the end of the evening you will believe this too. Thank you.
Chris, is there anyone else? And I would please ask everyone to mute unless they're speaking. It's very hard on these Zoom meetings.
I don't have anyone else with their hands raised.
Okay.
Well, Melina and then Christian Terry.
Okay, Molly Bannock, it's Melanie LaRosse. And I'd just like to say that I had no idea this was going on because I went into the office at the end of the day looking for John Broadley. I had some business to do with him. And I did witness Mr. Terry very angry, speaking to Ian, our AD. I was surprised, sort of surprised, because I've witnessed him speak that way before, but he was speaking pretty firmly to Ian when he said that, you know, I will have your jobs and you will hang. That was pretty frightening. I was a little shocked about that. And then when he said that it's interesting that nobody's around, everybody seems to scatter when people want to talk. And I assume that meant he was looking for Chris and John. And so at that point, I actually left the office to go look for Chris and John. And I think in passing, I think Chris showed up at the office when I was going to look for them, because I really felt like it was escalating and there were a lot of kids around and it was scary. And I was actually standing with a staff member who couldn't physically leave an area in the office because they were so physically upset about it. And that's not okay. I don't want to work in that kind of environment. That's not okay. So I hope the board will take it seriously and, you know, do what needs to be done. Thank you.
Chris, I think you had one more.
Christian Terry.
Hello, I am a concerned community member by what's going on. First off, individuals in the school district and system are falsifying facts on really what happened. The school claims that students and staff were threatened, and I'm not really sure if that's 100% accurate with the students' part. I wonder if they had a debrief session with students and staff, because of course you would want to have that in a school system. And I know from talking with students and hearing about where the students' perspective is, that did not occur. According to students, nothing was held in with the school, and they didn't try and comfort or support the students. Second, this letter that was sent out comes about a week and a half after the incident. Not only that, but he had a meeting with the superintendent of the schools the next day, and sorry, I lost my place after the incident, and nothing was brought up at that meeting. On March 24th, both of my parents went to the superintendent with an issue with a jealous player tampering with my brother's vehicle in the hopes of injury. When this was brought up to the administration, nothing was done about it. And it's very concerning about this type of issue not being brought up to the administration, not being able to be processed at the administrative level. Let me say that one more time. An issue was brought up to the administrative level, tampering with a vehicle in the hopes of causing harm to an individual student, directly injuring a student, and nothing was done. There is a police report that goes along with this, and this is not the first time I have heard of Bells Falls Union High School sweeping issues under the rug in the hopes that the problem would go away, or that they did not want to deal with it, or they just simply did not care. Not only that, but the sense of bullying that the school officials have imposed on the students is very concerning. First off, there are adults that ask, have you been out of the state? Which is very, very, I expect that, yes. However, the staff would be belittling and again asking the student in a condescending tone, are you sure about that? You know, knowing that they have that information within them, thinking that they're able to say, I knew you were out of state, but that is bullying, belittling a student. Accounts of this is brought up in about 15 to 20 students. And not only that, but there are students partying and having social gatherings, which nothing is done about that. If the school system does nothing about this, they are condoning it. Not only that, but staff members should know the policy of travel requirements. The administration targeted my brother and sister without evidence and basically was ill-informed and blaming students for traveling a couple of miles over the border. Mind you, that they did not know the correct guidance at this time and literally had to find the distance from Vermont border to the New Hampshire border on a map. So I leave you with that, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Chris,
Jessica.
anyone else?
Yeah, Jessica Illingworth.
Jessica, you're up.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I'm speaking as a community member, a parent who has children in both the high school and middle school, and I am a middle school employee. As far as I know, because my daughter goes to the high school, the counselors did offer students who had any interaction or saw the interaction between Mr. Terry and the staff at the high school that they could go and see them to get some support. Also, I just want to state that perhaps bullying is something that happens more often. I have seen this and I have heard of this several times with Mr. Jason, Mr. Terry. And you will hang may not be bullying, but it is threatening. And it is absurd for a school board member to be doing something like this. I'm sorry. That's all I have to say at this time.
Thank you. Chris, anyone else?
I'm just running through the participants list, and right now I don't see any other participants who have their hands up to make a comment.
Okay. So I would like to call on Katie Dearborn because I just didn't want to get off on too many things at once. Katie?
Hi, Molly. Thank you. So I'm Katie Dearborn. I have two children that are at the high school. My son Colby plays basketball. And so I am wanting to ask the board if there was any additional information about the resignation of the coach. I feel that my son had a good experience. I think the perception from the community that was involved in the administrative leave or paid leave that the coach was given, I think there wasn't a lot of communication to the parents. I think there are lots of stories as to why he ended up resigning, but I think it's important that this board understand why and really prevent any kind of complaints that are going to administration from becoming a reason that somebody resigns. I think that there could be a precedent that if you complain because of playing time or any other thing, that it can result in a switch of the coaching. And for my son, I think I'd like to see us have the same coach for the upcoming years.
Thank you. Is there any other communication or public comments?
No, I would say unless anyone else has anything further to add to open comment, I don't see any other hands raised.
All right. So let's move on. It doesn't look like we have any unfinished business. We need to go into executive session for principal interview and for administration and teacher contracts. And when we come back, we will have some action on that and we will have director's comments. I don't think it'll take us a long time in executive session. If everyone wants to hang out, you're welcome to, but we're gonna shut you out of our meeting for a minute.
just come out.
Okay, we're out. Thank you. I think I'm a little fogged.
I get it. Yeah.
Molly, you should be all set. Everyone should be back in.
Okay. We need a motion to accept the teacher list, please.
So moved.
Jack Breyer. Is there any more discussion on the teachers list? I see none, so let's do a roll call. We're voting on accepting the teachers list as shown to us. Priscilla,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Brenda,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Deb,
Aye.
okay, motion passes. Now we need a motion to direct the superintendent to hire John Brodley as our new principal with a 2-year contract.
Does that have,
I'll do that.
I'm sorry, should it include the effective date?
Yep, publish
Effective,
it.
effective July 1st,
July 1st. Okay,
2021.
perfect.
I make that motion.
I want to offer an amendment to the motion, please, Molly.
Sure.
My motion is to offer John Brodley a 1-year contract, and I would like to speak to my motion, please, or my amendment, please.
Who made the motion, original?
Priscilla made the motion.
She has to accept his amendment, yes?
Priscilla, do you
Only if
accept
it's
his
a
amendment?
only if it's a friendly amendment. If it's not a friendly amendment, and I suspect it's not, then we vote on the amendment and discover whether the amendment is sustained or whether the amendment fails.
So you have made a motion to amend Priscilla's motion to a 1-year contract.
Yes, and I've asked to speak to it, please.
Go for it.
All right. I have a great deal of respect for John Brodley and like him quite a lot. At the same time, I think that a 1-year contract gives John ample opportunity to show us what he can do. And I will draw a comparison here. I also sit on River Valley Tech Center board. And when we changed superintendents the last time, we hired the assistant director superintendent, Scott Farr, on as an interim. And Scott absolutely knocked it out of the park during his interim year and was hired full time. I'm going to suggest to this board that in giving John Brodley an 1-year contract is effectively the same as being a 1-year interim. And I fully anticipate that John will knock it out of the park. But if we find that for whatever reason, it doesn't gel, we are not tied into 2 years, which will be difficult years, both for this board and for John, and quite possibly for our school community as well. That's why I'm advocating for a 1-year contract.
Any other comments on David's amendment? Priscilla?
Yes, I do not feel that 1 year gives Don the opportunity to really show what he can do with having to recover from COVID next year and having to spend a lot of time being more supportive in the roles for students and those kinds of things. It doesn't allow him to possibly put in some ideas that he's got. And anytime we hire, say, a teacher, we normally, it takes at least 2 years. Your first year is a learning curve. In your second year, you're able to blossom and start using things. You learn a great deal in that first year. So if we are not providing him with the saying that we really feel that he can do this and that he is capable of listening to everybody and then blossoming and being able to start some new ideas the next year. I don't feel that we're being fair to him and giving him a fair chance. So I really think that we definitely need the 2-year. And so I would definitely be against the 1 year.
Deb, I think you're about the only one I can't see. Do you have something you'd like to add?
No, I do not.
Jack?
I appreciate the point that Mr. Clark is making, but I'm inclined to support a 2-year contract. I think Mr. Broadley has articulated himself the need to spend a significant portion of the next year simply listening and studying and planning. And I think that's a good attribute, and I don't want to hustle that.
Brenda, do you have anything?
I didn't understand David's till he explained it, and it sounded similar to what I was asking about the 2-year with a 1 year, not probation, but a 1 year with an incentive for the second year. So with his 1 year interim, then does it automatically go to a 2-year principal contract? Was that what he was saying?
Chris Pratt?
No, 1 year is a 1 year. 1 year is pretty much an interim position. That's why I'm advocating for a 2-year, because any leader needs more than 1 year. First year is just a lot of listening, paying attention. And
Then I'm for the 2-year. Yeah.
Okay, so now we are voting on an amendment to have our superintendent hire John Broadley with a 1-year contract starting July 1st. This is the amendment. Priscilla?
No.
David?
Yes.
Brenda?
No.
Jack?
No.
Jason? Did we lose Jason?
Sorry. Yes.
Deb?
No.
And Molly's a no. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 5 no's and 2 yeses. So the amendment fails and we are back to the original motion to direct our superintendent to hire John Broadley for our next principal starting July 1st with a 2-year contract. Is there any discussion? I see none. Priscilla?
Yes.
David?
No.
Brenda?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Jason?
No.
Deb?
Yes.
And Molly is a yes. So we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yes and 2 no. Motion passes. Welcome aboard, John, even though you're already here.
Thank you, everybody.
We are at director's comments. Priscilla?
It was a great meeting with all of you. I really respect everything that you've done, and we've been through some really tough times this last week. The respect that was taken in the way Molly handled everything tonight, I really appreciate her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Dawn.
David?
Well, I have 2 things. First off, I do want to congratulate John Broadley and point out a certain historical precedent here, which is I also voted against Chris Hodgson. And he's had a long and glorious career at this high school. So I hope I bring you luck with that vote, John. The second thing is a little bit more serious. And that is that we did hear from a staff member tonight who I guess we would say de-escalated her, uh, uh, how do I put this? Her characterization of a note that Jason Terry sent to the nurses. And that went from threatening to merely harassing. And I want people to hear what his harassing language was. Uh, he wrote, "Dear staff, first and foremost, thank you, nurses, for all you do. You have an incredibly difficult job, and I certainly understand that. You come to work each day and give it 100% and immediately are thrown a curveball each day when a situation comes up. I do recognize that. I do recognize dealing with difficult parents. I have written a letter that I will support because this letter is not based on emotion, but on factual data. And that's the schism between Jason Terry and the nurses. I cannot in any way find that to be evidence of either bullying, threatening, or harassment. And I just want to make sure that the record is clear that the characterization of Jason Terry's remarks to the teachers does not rise to the level of any of those sorts of concerns, but I think is actually extremely supportive. And I hope that people will hear me and realize that.
Brenda, you're next.
Thank you. I don't often have a lot to say, but I do have a lot to say tonight. And I'll start out by saying we pride ourselves, and we should, on a school board, on degrees, achievements, academic, education, things. I've heard the word life skills thrown in. And but I want to address that there's one important life skill. It's called communication. And I've seen something that was distressing in the Jason Terry issue. And the life skill that comes with that is called getting along. It starts in family. It's reinforced in school, community. In our family, it was in church. Then it goes to your job. And then it reproduces itself because you have children and you reinforce that. So I've studied sociology, psychology, religion, and child development. So I feel like I want to speak to this because this is an issue of human behavior, and human behavior comes from a human nature. Now, I'm not going to preach at you, but I'm going to say we advocate for a higher nature to hold your human nature in check. So I'll just briefly say it. It's called slow to speak, slow to anger. And so it's a really good starting point. And I do it this way. I teach that you hold yourself to the highest standard and you lower your expectation level of others, because then you don't get disappointed. And then you don't get the harassment and the things that come with it. Because if you can lower your expectation level of others, you can actually celebrate when you are pleasantly surprised. And you don't have that problem where you're knocked down. I feel that I want to speak to it out of, another thing that we can throw around is called life and spirit experience. So I want to speak to it as a matter, 60 years life experience, 40 years of it was spent in professionally working with people and studying people. I did not want to talk earlier. I wanted to hear, because there's two ways when you study people that they will either react or they will respond when there's an issue. A key to good social adjustment when there is a situation is that, number one, if you're involved in it, you don't take it personal. And number two, if you can mind your own business better than you can mind others, we all win. And so the things that I want to talk in respect to that, I want to say is there's two things that people come for counseling the most. One is problem, or should, because when the issue comes up, be it marital counseling or people problems, it's problem solving and conflict management. We all approach life from our background. We all know all the psychology of it, but we have a breakdown when we cannot do problem solving, and we cannot do conflict management. Those two things should come to a conversation. That conversation should not be what it has been this couple weeks. It should not be a public open forum before it goes to a one-on-one or a mediation session. If that problem was between administration and a parent, that's where it should have been handled. But the others looking on, and the others, you know, that had that interaction with, or that observation of it, should have again taken it to the administration, not to every place else that it went. We advocate in the school restorative justice. I believe in that respect, we talk about mediation before judgment. And I'm disturbed because I don't see in this situation that they were interested, some of the comments were interested in restoring Jason, and I don't even know Jason or even all the situation. I don't get the Brattleboro reformer. And as a board member, I had to hear about something. I don't know how I heard it. It was an email or how I heard it that was reported in the Brattleboro reformer. I don't want to hear it that way because in my opinion, that's public shaming and disgrace. That's gossip, libel. It's just poor management of a problem. And I ask, are we actually proud of this? Is that what we want to show our children, even in how to do conflict management? Maybe all of it wasn't handled correctly, but I just don't subscribe to that kind. It sounds like we're going to air our dirty laundry so all the other school districts, all the communities can say, oh, wow, look at BF. I think it's a fact that we need to personally, I'm just embarrassed, that's all. And I think that we should have responsible adult behavior. And so it's a fact that our society lacks balance. I mean, you can look around. And I think we're either hypersensitive or we're desensitized. And let's be honest, when we're talking about children, let's not throw them out as a pawn. My kid was traumatized or so-and-so had this. You know, those kids, do you know what they're watching on TV and playing on a video game? And normal conversation with kids of every age level nowadays has a swear word in it. When I was brought up, you didn't do it. So it didn't matter who you were, you just didn't do it. So I think that this just starts, you know, and it just snowballs. So I think I just want to say, take a reality check because, you know, life doesn't come on our own terms. That's why we all have issues. So when we collectively have an issue, I don't think we should go straight to like a mob, I don't know, I wrote it down. Let's see, mob or peer sentencing kind of thing. No, I am not going to vote for Jason Terry to resign or to be taken off of the board. I do value his input. I may not always agree. I don't know him as a person, but it sounds like he can be pretty aggressive, you know. But hey, you know, the reality is life doesn't come the way we want it and the way we would like to order it. If it did, we'd all be happy, but we're not. So there's always a risk. And when you work with public, if you put yourself out working with people in a public forum, you need to get over yourself in some of these issues, and you need to work towards a solution. And some of the solutions should not be so public. We can have our opinions, we can differ, but in a reasonable way. That's all.
Very good job, Brenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack, you got a hard act to follow.
No kidding. In one of the churches I used to go to, someone would stand up after that and say, "Preach, sister," and Brenda, you know, there it is.
If you raise a handkerchief, it's going to be dangerous.
The reality is here is that there was a very unfortunate and I think uncalled for decision involving a student. It caused a parent who is a member of our board to summon his inner hockey dad and act in a way that I hope he's embarrassed about. But that doesn't require a public stoning afterwards. And that was what was attempted. I've been on the board a long time, and I remember another marginalized person getting that treatment and was accused of assaulting teachers with a deadly weapon, and the person had thrown a paperclip across the hall. That was the reality once we got done all the histrionics about it. Now, Mr. Terry needs to watch his language and not to assume that he has authority he does not have, and I think he knows that. But with all of that said, was there due process? No, there was public shaming. Was there an attempt to mediate? No, there was an attempt. Everybody, including people who weren't even in the room, decided that they had opinions to share and waited on thicker than it possibly could be. And what is shaming about it is they're in a position of guiding our children. And if this was the example they set, shame on them. It infuriated me, and it still does. Now, that doesn't justify what Mr. Terry did, but it certainly does say that we have a responsibility to de-escalate, to lead by example, to show people how civilized folks behave in society, and that did not occur, and it hasn't occurred, and that is a problem for me. And I hope that much like Brent, mine's a little bit chippier than Brenda's, but it simply is a plea that we lead by example as an institution, as that institution's leadership, and that we try to set an example, because none of what has transpired in this has been anything to be proud of.
Jason, you're next.
My only comment is good luck, Mr. Bradley, and you got a lot of work cut out for you. So thank you.
Deb, you're next.
Certainly. First, I'd really very much like to thank Brenda Farkas. It was the nicest part of the meeting today. Thank to her. And bringing some light into our deeply disturbing conversations this evening. I just want to say that retaliation through public comment is not appropriate, and despite policy C3, despite that, and someone pointed that out to me this evening in an email during our meeting, I believe that perhaps the policy committee should review policy C3 and see, along with the fact of whether or not there's a personnel policy that should address the avenues available to employees when they have a problem, that they should not come out and stone to death a board member in order to get their way. This is what we are teaching our children. This creates us. Are we all a trigger society? Are we all cancel culture? We're supposed to be adults, and we're supposed to act like adults. And yes, occasionally we don't always act like adults. And this is where we are at the moment discussing this matter, because crap happens when you are very angry about your children and you are concerned about their wherewithal. So I simply want to say that we are showing a lack of respect and showing that in one place doesn't mean we should show it everywhere. And coming to meetings so that you can cry j'accuse is not appropriate. Again, those who have attended this evening have seen how the board has chosen to address, or they may say not address, a board member and its concerns. We are doing the adult thing. Just because you don't see it here in this recording, which everyone will be watching about the meeting, doesn't mean we haven't addressed it and all parties have come to an agreement. It's just not done here. We are trying to be respectful of everyone's privacy and rights. That is what board members do. We would like that the public or those who believe they can do this as part of the public would show some respect as well. Thank you.
Okay, I'm next. I'm last on the list. I have literally written 3 different pages of what I was going to say when it came to this point tonight. It's been a long week and a half, 2 weeks. Too many articles put in the Bradbury Former. We've got our dirty laundry out there bad. I don't take that lightly. I don't appreciate that. So I guess the biggest thing that I can say as your chair is that I came into this meeting tonight hoping that when I said goodnight, everyone had settled down a little bit. We have to, if we are going to succeed as a board, we have to respect each other, and we don't have to. We can continue the way we went in the last week and a half, but I wrote my letter of resignation 3 times because I just didn't know if I really even wanted to be part of the circus that we had going on here. We had somebody make a mistake, and he has owned it. And I hope that tomorrow morning I don't get an email from one of my favorite customers who reads the Bradbury Reformer before any of you guys are awake and tells me I made the paper again. Because that's not what I'm about. I don't want to be on the front page of Bradbury Reformer for anything. So Mr. Terry has owned what he's done and has apologized. I think this meeting went way better than I anticipated it going tonight. We had some people that spoke up. I think that part of the way the world is right now, we have to let them speak because it just makes them feel better. Whether we like it or not, it just makes them, they're going to sleep tonight because they got it off their chest. So I don't believe in gossiping or keep turning this or have this circus keep going as far as I'm concerned. And I really hope that everyone here tonight puts this to bed. You know, we have to, or we're just not gonna do well with people because this is not good for us. We are not showing a good face for our school, for our community. And you know, you want to know why we have empty seats on the school board? Well, I mean, if I wasn't on the school board and I've been reading the paper for the last week, I would never say I want to be on the school board. So I'm just hoping that we can all put this away, respect each other. I mean, we all know that, but we let our emotions get the best of us and we start throwing things around that we, you know, probably should have thought about what we said before we said it. I am pleased with the way the evening went, and I appreciate all your time. And it is 9:10, and I'd like to adjourn this meeting. Good night.
You're here. Good night. Meeting's over. Let's see.
Meeting's over.
All right.